Hello and welcome to another episode of the NK Active Podcast. My name is Nick, podiatrist and director here at NK Active. So, in this episode, we want to have a quick discussion around about the best treatment options for plantar fasciitis. So, before we get into the treatment options, let's have a quick recap of what plantar fasciitis is. It is most probably one of the most common causes of foot pain and one of the most common causes of complaints we see from people who visit us at NK Active in clinic or over video appointments. So effectively it is some irritation to the plantar fascia, which is a structure that sits underneath the foot on the bottom surface, and it basically runs from the heel to the front of the foot region. Symptoms are most likely to appear on the bottom of the foot around the inside of the heel region, and you'll tend to find symptoms are worse first thing in the morning or after a period of rest, and when you get up and walk around, that's when it tends to be a little unpleasant, and then things will ease slightly. As you are walking, symptoms tend to be worse when pushing forward, and you'll notice the more exercise you do, the worse symptoms tend to be. You don't tend to get any pain at night, it won't wake you up at night, and there's very little swelling and there's always no bruising present. So, you've got plantar fasciitis. What is the best treatments out there? Now, what is the best treatment? Depends on the individual really. But let's have a look at what the current clinical research suggests. So there are some best papers for practice out there already. So some of the treatments that you can look at that we know have large amounts of evidence and work are things like shockwave therapy. Shockwave therapy is basically high energy sound waves that are delivered by a handpiece to the heel, and it's basically pounding the heel area, and effectively the aim is to kickstart the healing process, and there's lots of evidence to show it is effective in reducing pain and symptoms within plantar fasciitis. For us at NK Active, it is something we combine with the rehabilitation process, because we found that actually using shockwave helps speed up a return to activity and help speed up that recovery process. So that's shockwave. Other things that you can look at and has good amount of evidence and is from a research perspective, one of the most important things is actually some education around what plantar fasciitis is. Because when you're looking at building the right treatment plan and options for you, we need to understand, and you need to understand, why did it happen in the first place? So then you can then build appropriate strategies about reducing the risk of it coming back and managing current symptoms. So there's often a lot of education that needs to go in around about what plantar fasciitis is and how we're going to manage it for you. And that is really, really important, because when we're talking about the treatment of plantar fasciitis, whenever you go and see a healthcare professional, a lot of the time this is empowering you as a patient to do stuff on your own accord at home, and we're there to help facilitate that journey. Other things that can be helpful: footwear. Footwear can play a big, really important role. And in general, having a rocker shoe or a stiff sole shoe will tend to be helpful in the management of plantar fasciitis, particularly that rocker shoe, because having that slight rocker sole means that as you go to push forward, you're not putting as much strain going through that plantar fascia, and life can get a little more comfortable. Other things that can be helpful is taping the plantar fascia. Now, we will put a link in the show notes to the taping process that we use. Personally, we prefer using the rigid zinc oxide tape. I don't think the kinesio, the stretchy tape, offers enough support. And taping can be what we call get out of jail free card. It can be something that can be really helpful in reducing symptoms and helping reduce pain, but it's not a long-term strategy. We don't like people taping their foot longer than 6 weeks or for using it for specific activities just to help get them through the process. But it can be a very effective tool in reducing pain quite quickly and helping in the management of symptoms. So, other things that can be helpful: foot orthoses or custom insoles. And there's lots of debates out there as to whether you have something modified off the shelf or whether you pay a little more money and you get something made bespokely for you. And as I said, there can be a bit of a price difference between the two. Now, the current evidence suggests that possibly having something made bespokely for you is more likely to give you a better outcome than having something modified off the shelf. Now, my take on it and view when it comes to insoles and foot orthoses is it's the right tool, the right job, the right time for the right person. So there are many patients that we see in clinic that can get very good outcomes using something modified off the shelf. And there are other patients where we just need custom foot orthoses to help. So it all depends on the individual. Now, a quick note when it comes to foot orthoses. Just because you've been prescribed or issued or recommended to use foot orthoses, it's not a life sentence. I want to try and break this notion that once you got insoles, that's it, you got to wear them forever. That is not true. A lot of our patients will look to wean off the orthoses because they're just not needed anymore. Or you may find actually if you're going for a walk, if it's under 30 minutes, you're okay, but anything longer than 30 minutes, you do need to possibly look at using foot orthoses. They're not a life sentence. They can be removed or just used for certain activities, and they don't have to be used 24/7. Now, there's one thing I haven't mentioned so far, and that's about exercises to start making you stronger. So if we've been really technical, if we look at the evidence so far, the current reviews don't really mention exercises and strengthening work that much. There are some papers out there that spoke about the benefits of doing it, but I think the reason it's not mentioned that much is the research hasn't really been done yet. And my view on as to why is because there is no perfect exercise program that will help you with your plantar fasciitis. I think when you're talking about exercises, you need to think outside of the foot. You need to take a holistic approach. You need to look at the individual. So there'll be different exercises used in different ways, at different times, at different rates, and different loads. So when you're trying to research and use one exercise that every single person does, that's not going to work for every single person. I think you have to, what we call, tailor the dosage to the individual and do the right exercise at the right time, because the exercises only work when they get done. And you've listened to previous episodes and you would have heard me harp on about the importance of consistency, and consistency is the key thing when it comes to exercises. If we look at our own data at NK Active, we know that exercise and getting people fitter and stronger does play a really important role in helping people with plantar fasciitis. And I think this is where hopefully the research will come in and catch up with that over time. And there are some projects we're working on as well. So to summarize, some of the best ways to help plantar fasciitis, in my opinion, is shockwave therapy, education, foot orthoses, bit of footwear advice, and then most importantly is some strengthening exercises to make you fitter and stronger. Hopefully that was helpful. A nice short episode this month. Please do subscribe to the podcast. Any questions, get in contact, and we shall see you on the next episode. See you later.